the first month I was at school, the Progressive Student Network was planning this sit-in at a laboratory at the engineering school that was conducting electromagnetic pulse research, and basically they were trying to figure out, the military was funding universities to do this research to figure out how to keep electronic devices working for us, the good guys, in the event that somehow someone like us happens to use nuclear weapons, so that all of our communication systems can survive the electromagnetic pulses that are emitted when a nuclear weapon's used. And we ended up having a 72-hour sit-in in the lab, something like 20 or 25 students, and getting all this national media attention. I actually wasn't willing to risk being arrested and ended up being like the media coordinator of that, which I had absolutely no experience in, but it was really fun anyway, and it was a really good training for me as a young budding activist or something. I remember giving a speech. We had this march across campus where about 300 people went, and I gave my first public political speech was in front of the ROTC building, the ROTC building, which is Reserve Officer Training Corps. And I think that's what it stands for. Maybe it means like rock out troublesome children, but I don't think so. I don't think it was like a punk thing. It was a very military building on campus, and I was really nervous to give like a public speech against the military with media looking at me and crowds, but definitely living in Ann Arbor was a good training, and lots of people of different generations to help us learn about it. So I was kind of a happy student. I didn't necessarily do too well as a student going to classes, but my first year as a student in Ann Arbor, I was still like kind of trying to come out as gay. Like I was definitely sexually active, but somehow in denial that I was gay. It might not make sense, like this is 20-something years ago, and being like a political activist and queer but still closeted to myself might not make sense in the context of today in 2009, but I understood what was going on was that it was still really hard to be openly gay for a lot of kids, and I was one of them. And it was weird because I had so many friends who were in this group, the PSN, Progressive Student Network, who were lesbians, and a lot of people were like sort of called themselves bisexual or androgynous and would experiment, and I sort of started seeing myself as like, oh, one of these experimental types. But I wasn't gay. I wasn't a fag. I was me. And I went to a gay rally on the campus before I actually even totally came out to myself as gay. Again, it doesn't make sense, but somehow it was easier to be politically vocal because it's about justice and equal rights and stuff. We had this rally. We were trying to get the university to pass a non-discrimination clause so that gay people would be covered under the university's non-discrimination clause, and they weren't going for it. It wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't actually involved in the gay student group that was doing this, but like all the different sort of political groups tried to support each other. So I heard there was going to be this rally and march to the president's office, and most people in this queer student group wore paper bags on their head to show that it's not safe to be out on campus because you can be graded differently or something or anything as a student, or workers didn't have protection to be out back then, and so people decided to wear paper bags over their heads, which was a very visual statement. I didn't actually wear one, and it was so funny because I didn't identify as gay, but I felt like, well, I want to be seen. If people know me, I want them to see that I'm supporting gay and lesbian, bisexual rights, or whatever rights we were supporting. And it was very hilarious. I mean, it wasn't announced that we were going to go to the president's office. It was just we got there and found out we're marching on the administration building, and we just like about 40 of us went in there, and the secretary of the president was like, "What are you doing?" By the way, there's an administration building that was built during the height of the 60s when there was intense shit going on the Ann Arbor campus, and they tried making it this fortress, demonstration-proof sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, you can get in there, but they can shut it down. But we got in there, and because in the early, 83, 84 there weren't such huge demonstrations with people fighting with the cops like there had been in the late 60s, early 70s. And so we managed to get in there, not into the president's office, but into the conference room attached to the president's office, and we're just packed in there, some people still with their brown paper bags on, and in comes President Shapiro himself. And there was a great picture in the Michigan Daily, which is the daily student newspaper, of the president sitting kind of like with his hands right over his private parts, looking really uncomfortable and scared. Like they somehow managed to get such a great photo of him. It was brilliant. As he's saying, like, "I care," and things like that. "I'll look into this." And the president would always say, "Well, that's really a policy the regents of the university, who are publicly elected to govern this place, have to decide, or the people of Michigan need to decide," or everyone wanted to pass it off to everyone else and not deal with the queers. And